Hello students, today we'll start with the day 4 online class of science and the chapter name is crop production and management. Till now we have seen that how various agricultural practices are being used for growing of crops, and we have seen that what are the various tools which are being used for growing the crops. We have seen the first way of agricultural practices, that is a preparation of soil. It can be done by tilling process, and the tools which are being used are the plow, hoe as well as cultivator. Then we saw children that in sowing, how sowing seed is a very important process because seed has to be sown and the soil has to be prepared for that. So what are the different ways by which sowing can be done? We saw the traditional method as well as seed drill method. Then we saw that how the manure, which is a natural substances obtained by the decomposition of the cattle dung, human waste as well as plant residues, how they are beneficial for growing of the crops. Fertilizer is an inorganic salt, but use of more fertilizers reduces the fertility of soil. And irrigating field, that is watering the crop, how it is very much important, and we saw the traditional method as well as modern method of irrigation. Today we are going to study about weeds and how the weeds create a negative impact on the plants. Children, in this slide we are going to study about weeds. Now what are weeds? Wheat is a plant growing where it is not wanted. It also includes plants that were not intentionally sown in a specific location or plants that are more competitive or interfere with the activity of people. Children, these weeds compete with the desired plant or the good plant for the natural resources. They take sunlight, they take soil nutrients, water and space so that the good plant should not grow. So if you see in this picture, there are weeds which grow by itself. It does not allow the good plants to grow properly, and it inhibits their growth as well as it takes up all the nutrients. Now in this slide we are going to study about the impacts of weeds. Weeds are one of the major threats to the natural environment. They are destroying native habitats, threatening native plants and animals, and choking our natural system, including rivers as well as forests. Children, there are various weeds which create a problem to animals, even to the natural system, including our rivers as well as forests. Now children, in this slide you can see the different types of weeds images. So weeds, they reduce the farm as well as forest productivity. The products what we get from our farm as well as forest, it has been reduced. They invade crops, smother pastures, and even in some cases they can harm the livestock. Children, these weeds are poisonous also. They can create an allergy problem even in human beings, as well as they inhibit the harvest. Now what is harvest? Harvest is a process when grains are mature and it is being cut. So when these weeds grow with a good crop or the desired plant, it affects the harvest process and it creates a problem to the good crops. Now, children, what is weeding? Weeding means removal of unwanted plants from the crop field. And why it is important? Because unwanted plants reduces the fertility of soil. The best time to remove this weed is when the soil is moist and the weeds are very small, near in the seedling stage. Weed control should usually be done in early crop stage as it is more practical, students, and it is more effective. In the later life of the weeds, they produces flowers as well as seeds which can grow as well as this can disperse to other places and even harm the other crops. Now, weeding can be of different types. The first method is of hand pulling. Second is by using a tool called as khurpi, and the third one is by seed drill, a machine. Now, gardeners or the people, those who are working in a field, they pick up, they pull the weeds by hand pulling method, or even they can cut close to the ground these plants. Khurpi is a tool, children. If you can see the second image, it's a tool-like structure which helps in digging soil and to remove weeds. The third method is the seed drill method. It is more conventional, tractor-drawn instrument used for sowing, and even it is very much efficient to uproot weeds. Farmers adopt many ways to remove weeds and control their growth. Weeds are also controlled by using certain chemicals called weedicides. They do not show any effect on crop plants. The weedicides are diluted and sprayed in the field with the sprayer. So children, in the second image, if you can see, a person is spraying these chemicals and a sprayer is being used at the back of his shoulder by which he sprays these chemicals which are used to kill weeds. As earlier told, weedicides are the chemicals which are used to control weeds, and the examples are 2,4-D, or it is also called as 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid. The weedicides are sprayed during the vegetative growth of weeds before flowering and seeds formation. Spraying of weedicide may affect the health of farmers, so they should use these chemicals very carefully. They should cover their nose and mouth with a piece of cloth during spraying of these chemicals. Harvesting of a crop is an important task, children. Now, what is harvesting? It is the cutting of crop after it is mature. In harvesting, crops are pulled out or cut close to the ground. It usually takes 3 or 4 months for a cereal crop to mature. Harvesting in our country is either done manually by sickle or by machine. The completion of harvesting marks the end of the growing season or growing cycle for a particular crop, and the social importance of this event makes it the focus of seasonal celebration such as harvest festivals. Now, harvesting can be done by using various tools. A sickle or bagging hook or reaping hook is a single-handed agricultural tool designed with variously curved blades and typically used for harvesting process, reaping grain, crop, or cutting succulent forests chiefly for feeding livestock, either freshly cut or dried as hay. Now, what is threshing? Threshing is a process of loosening the edible part of grain to which it is attached. Threshing may be done by beating the grain using a flail on a threshing floor, and even the traditional methods are being used for removing the edible part of the grain. Hand threshing is a very laborious process. So nowadays machines are being used which are called as combine, which is a combine harvester as well as thresher. So now what is combine? A modern combine harvester or simply combine is a versatile machine designed to efficiently harvest a variety of grain crops. Children, farmers, those who have a small holding of land, do the separation of grains and chaff by the process called as winnowing. As in the image 3, you can see the lady is holding a material by which the chaff as well as the grains are being removed. Even the winnowing machine, you can see in the second image, it's a winnowing machine by which the grains and the chaff are being removed. Now children, we have already observed the various agricultural practices. The first we saw how the soil can be prepared so that the sowing process can be done. After sowing is done, we add manures as well as fertilizers so that the plant can take the proper nutrients and grow well. And there we saw what are the advantages of manure. Not only manure as well as fertilizers are important, but irrigating field also, watering plants also is very important. And we saw what are the different ways of irrigating fields. Then we observed that how the weeds are creating an impact on the desired or the good plants. So weeding is very much important. Once the weeds are being removed, the crops are ready for harvest process. The crops are being removed from the chaff, and now the last process is the storage. Storage of produce is a very important task. If the crop grains are to be kept for longer time, they should be safe from moisture, insects, rats, and microorganisms. The fresh crop has more moisture. If freshly harvested grains are stored without drying, you know what will happen, children? They will be attacked by the microorganisms and they will lose their germination capacity. Hence, before storing them, the grains should be properly dried in the sun to reduce the moisture in them. And because of this, it prevents the attack of insect pests, bacteria, and fungi. Farmers in our country, they store grains in jute bags or metallic bins. However, children, large-scale storage of grains can be done in the granaries or silos to protect them from rats as well as insects. Even people in the smaller scale, they use the dried neem leaves to protecting their grains. Now, what is animal husbandry? Till now, in this chapter, we have seen that how the plants should be grown, and plant is a very important source for food. So what are the different ways by which we can take care of plants? Not only plants are important, but even the animals are the source for food. And today we are going to study about a branch of agriculture which concern it with animals. Now these animals are raised for the meat, milk, egg and other products. Children, animal husbandry includes day-to-day care of selective breeding and raising of livestock. So in the picture, you can observe that how the different animals are being raised so that the product from them should be benefited for the human mankind. Now there are different types of animal husbandry: dairy farming, poultry farming, fish farming, as well as beekeeping. Dairy farming tells us that how the cows as well as buffaloes are being raised up. They are being provided with proper food, shelter, their breeding process is being done, as well as the product, that is milk, we obtain and it is beneficial for the people. Now when we talk about poultry farming, people, they get meat as well as egg from them. Fish farming is also a type of an animal husbandry in which fish is being kept so that the people should be benefited by their meat and other products. In the beekeeping or apiculture, people, they get lot of things from beekeeping. They get honey, and not only honey, various other products are being obtained from this beekeeping process. What are the advantages when we do the process of animal husbandry? Animal husbandry helps in the proper management of animals by providing proper food, shelter, and protection against diseases to domestic animals. It also provides employment to a large number of farmers and thereby increases their living standard. It also involves the proper disposal of animal waste and promote a healthy environment. So children, animal husbandry is very important branch in which animals are being kept, and we are being benefited when we see these animals, how they are being kept there, how they are being provided with a proper food, shelter, as well as care, so that a mankind should be benefited. So children, here we are going to discuss some of the very important questions. The first question says, what are weeds? Weeds are the unwanted or undesirable plant which grow naturally along with the main crop. How can we control them? Weeds, as they grow naturally, we can use various methods by which uprooting of the weeds can be done. It can be by hand pulling method. We can also use tools called as khurpi, or we can use a machine called as seed drill by which uprooting of the weed can be done. Second question says, differentiate between harvesting and threshing. Now harvesting is a process of cutting and gathering of a matured crop. Threshing is a process of separating grains from the harvested crops. Harvesting can be done by sickle or with its machine called combine or harvester. Threshing can be done by using machines called thresher. Third question says, what are the advantages of Plowing. Now there are various advantages of plowing, and the most important action is turning the soil over. Children, by plowing method, we can improve air circulation so that roots can respire easily. Plowing improves water retaining or holding capacity of the soil. Plowing helps the root to penetrate deeper into the soil, thus hold the plant tightly. Next question says, what is produce? Produce are the products which are obtained from the crop. Question 5 says, why depth at which seeds are planted are important? Sowing seeds in perfect depth cause plant root system to form right at the soil surface. Perfect depth makes the plant grow well and provide sufficient nutrients. Now we are going to discuss some of the fill-ups. Dash involves removal of unwanted and uncultivated plants. And the answer is weeding. Second question says, dash is an example of weedy site. And the answer is 2,4-D or 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid. C part of the fill-up says, a branch of agriculture that are reared, cared, and bred for their products is known as animal husbandry. Now, some of the one-word answers we are going to find out. First question says, providing water to the plant. So children, you know, in agriculture practices, we have already discussed the method by which we give water to the plant is the process of irrigation. Second question says, keeping crop grain for a long time under proper condition, and that is called as storage, which is very important for keeping the grains. Otherwise, if the moisture will be there, then they can be attacked by the microorganisms, as well as it will lose its germination capacity. So storing of grain is very important. Next question says, a machine used for cutting matured crop, and it is a combine, which is used as a harvester as well as thresher. Next question says, what are the substances which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients? So children, we have already discussed there are two types of the nutrients by which we can add it to the soil in a form of organic material as well as inorganic material. When we talk about organic material, it is the manures, and when we talk about inorganic materials, they are the fertilizers. So manures and fertilizers are the important substances which can be added to the soil in the form of nutrients so that plant can take these nutrients for its growth as well as development. Thank you.